Right then, lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Thank you so much for sharing the podcast throughout Africa. I can see, many people from Nigeria, Lesotho, Namibia, Kenya, Uganda, everywhere in Africa. Out in Africa, it's really amazing. We are going to be speaking Bukayo Saka. We're going to be speaking contract situations at Arsenal. And we're also going to speak the implications of Arsenal missing out on the UEFA Champions League, especially on players like Martinelli, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Bukayo Saka. All these players have been linked with a move away from the Emirates Stadium, or better we should say that a couple of clubs have expressed interest in these lads. So how easy and how hard is it going to be for Arsenal to lose Saka, Magalhaes, and Gabriel Martinelli? Can we keep them with clubs coming in with the UEFA Champions League football, with clubs coming in with hefty, sign-on bonuses? Can we keep these players? In the comment box, I want you to answer for me this little question. Should Arsenal sell Saka to reinvest in their squad? Should we do what Liverpool did with Coutinho? Should we do what Liverpool did with Luis Suarez? Do you think Arsenal should take that route? Just let me know in the comments below. I'll be very, very glad to hear from you. Let's get the party started. Now, a couple of reports have been flying around Bukayo Saka, and the major ones are those that are saying or are suggesting that there is a bit of difficulty between Arsenal and Saka's camp. Arsenal, no doubt, want to give Bukayo Saka a new contract. Saka, with no doubt, would love to stay at Arsenal Football Club. However, the representatives and advisors of Bukayo Saka are trying to tell him that you are already ready for the UEFA Champions League. You can play for any club that is in the UEFA Champions League. You do not have to commit your future at Arsenal Football Club. However, Arsenal are also trying to take all measures possible, all measures there is, to make sure that the player stays, including these two very crazy ideas. One is giving Salah a huge sign-on bonus, which I think wouldn't be really bad, considering the fact that he's one of the players that have been very, very pivotal, very key to our season. I don't think it would be the worst idea ever. But the question is, with young players like Kylian Mbappe signing deals that are worth 100 million per year and 500 million pounds, sign-on fee, how much are players like Bukayo Saka going to ask for? Now, I'm not really saying that Saka is better than Mbappe or Saka is at the level of Kylian Mbappe, but if you look at the importance, if you look at how significant Mbappe is to PSG, Saka will somewhat feel the same way, because Arsenal have really relied on him so much this season. 17 goal involvements on for a 20-year-old. I think he was cheated. He should be winning a young player of the year in the Premier League. He should be winning that. So Arsenal are suggesting that they want to give the player a huge sign-on bonus that is come the end of the season, so that he can actually stay with the club. Now, the most crazy idea is inserting a release clause in the player's contract. Now, this has been written and reported by the Daily Mail, and this is what they've written: Arsenal mulling over a release clause for Saka. And they're saying Arsenal are under pressure to include a release clause in the new contract they are planning to offer Bukayo Saka, with formal talks with his representatives due to start at the end of the season. The 20-year-old England forward effectively has 2 years left on his deal, as Arsenal have the option to trigger an additional 12 months to the 3-year contract he signed in 2020, but the club want to tie him down for considerably longer. Saka is happy at Arsenal and has good relationships with manager Mikel Arteta, but he wants to play in the Champions League, so may be reluctant to commit himself without an exit strategy. As with most big clubs in English clubs, Arsenal do not ordinarily insert release clauses into their players' contracts to ensure they only sell from a position of strength, but they may be forced to make an exception for Bukayo Saka, as reported by the Daily Mail via a couple of other outlets. So there we are, lads. There we are. Arsenal, just like a couple of other English clubs, do not insert release clauses in their players' contracts. This is the advantage and also disadvantage of release clauses, right? For example, I'll use the example of Barcelona. Barcelona have inserted a 1 billion release clause in Pedri's contract. So literally, who's gonna pay billion for Pedri? Pedri is one of the best midfielders in the world, but who's gonna pay a billion? Come on. So that is the advantage, that if the release clause is good enough, if the release clause is strong enough, then there are very, very high chances that you do not lose your player easily, right? And it also makes it hard for clubs to come in and try to negotiate their way around a release clause, especially if a club doesn't want to sell. The problem with release clauses is how much is that release clause, and how much is the true value of the player at the moment. For example, at the moment we can insert a 100 million euro release clause in Saka's contract. That would be around 86 million pounds or 85 million pounds. And then if we do that, then he plays very well, exceptionally very well for the next 2 years. A club is going to come in, and instead of paying like 150 million, because that will be his value then, they will only pay the 85 million. That is the problem with release clauses. That is the number one problem with release clauses. We've seen it with Thomas Partey and Erling Haaland, because if Haaland didn't have a release clause in his contract, Dortmund could have sold him for 100 million. They could have sold him for 200 million if they wanted. But because the player had a release clause, they only got around 64 million pounds, around 76 million euros, from his sale. And that's why it was a very, very good deal in terms of how much you're buying him from Dortmund, in the case of Manchester City. But also remember, we bought in Thomas Partey for 45 million pounds. I don't know by the time if he was better than that, or he was better than that. But Atletico Madrid, because they didn't want to sell, they could have raised that price to probably 40, 7, 50, 57, 60, 67. They could have done that. But with release clauses, the moment a player's release clause is triggered, you have no option but to let them go, right? If they agree to if they agree terms with the club, triggering the release clause. Now that is one problem. The other problem is you're not in a position of strength when you're selling, and that is something that I think Arsenal do not want. With players like Saka, that is something that we definitely do not want. So what do I mean that you're not always in a position of strength when you're selling? First and foremost, you do not have the ability to negotiate the prices to go up and everything like that. And then as well, you do not decide when the player goes or when he stays. For example, Atletico Madrid had thought Partey was going to stay in the transfer window, and on the late minute, Arsenal triggered the release clause of the player. Now remember, Madrid didn't even get time to find a proper replacement for Thomas Partey, right? It happened with Burnley on Chris Wood. The moment Newcastle came in and triggered his release clause, he went to Newcastle, right? And you have to think about the fact that Burnley, almost, their playing style, many of their goals, almost half of their goals, are linked to Chris Wood. And when such a vital player is just taken away without you having power to negotiate or refuse the deal, it's absolutely ridiculous, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. So Arsenal do not want to get to that situation. And how did we get here? The fact that we failed to make UEFA Champions League. That is the reason. And he is not the only player that Arsenal are facing this problem. Gabriel Magalhaes also signed for Arsenal. It's now 2 years. That means his initial contract is has 2 years left. Next year he'll be he'll be running into his final year. So you want to extend his contract right now. So is Saka's. So is Gabriel Martinelli's. But as you want to extend their contracts, these players are having offers from bigger clubs. Juventus have come in with huge offers for Gabriel Magalhaes. Actually, according to Gianluca Di Marzio, I've seen that Arsenal are prepared to enter talks with Juventus for Gabriel Magalhaes. I don't know how true that is, and I'll throw more light when I do my research. But I've seen that. Now you have Juve in for Gabi. You have Liverpool. Klopp is really interested in Gabi Martinelli, although we have some confirmation that he will be putting on shirt 11 next season, which gives us a little bit of confidence. Saka as well. I've not seen a lot of interest in Saka apart from Liverpool's transfer rumors by the Mirror, which are very, very old now. But that is the cost of not being in the UEFA Champions League. And right now, Saka has had one of the best seasons in his career. So we have two options. We have either giving him a very big sign-on bonus and assuring him that we are going to be playing UEFA Champions League football next season but one, right? We have a couple of avenues. We could qualify directly through the league next season, or we could also win the Europa League. So we have a couple of avenues. Or that is one of the options. Or the other option is insert a release clause in Bukayo Saka's contract, and that is very, very smart from the players' agents and players' representatives, because you're not going to insert a 1 billion release clause. They won't allow you to do that, right? They're saying, yes, he stays, but if you do not get Champions League, then his release clause is going to be 90 million and it can be triggered by anyone. It's so frightening. Because why I think Arsenal really need to find their way out of this. This is a season where we do not deserve to be in the top 4 debate. And Saka somehow has found himself carrying Arsenal into that debate. And we sit comfortably in the top 4 debate because of Bukayo Saka. So we cannot even think about losing him. We cannot even think about selling him. I've asked you a question in the comment section and I'm going to get your reactions. But we cannot even think about selling him. Right now he is the face of the project, and any player that would want to come in at Arsenal, I think, look, I'm sorry to say this, but Saka is one of the attractions to the club at the moment, because 20-year-old with a very, very big future, 17 goal involvements. I mean, if Victor Osimhen is if you tell Victor Osimhen that you're gonna play alongside Odegaard and Saka, and he's gonna be the number 9 that benefits from their creativity, he might as well listen. I don't know if he will listen, but he might as well listen. So, in my opinion, I don't know how Arsenal are going to do this, but they desperately need to get that one done. Release clause for me, don't do it. Let us give him the money he wants. As a young player, I don't think he's going to ask for 300k. Probably would ask for around 150k. For me, he's deserved it. 2 very consecutive seasons, well played, and he's promising. He's promising more and more and more. A player who is not limited. A player who cannot be stopped. Especially this season. Next season, we'll wait and see. So, what I thought there lies on Saka, could he leave? For me, this is my answer to the question on the thumbnail and in the title. I think Saka will stay at Arsenal, but in the near future, like 2 or 3 years, if he keeps on developing at the same rate, he's gonna become a Jack Grealish. He's going to develop faster than the project. And of course, that really happens all the time. That really happens all the time. That's why I think the Cronkies and the advantage that Arteta has is that he's going to be backed by the Cronkies. And that is what they've said. And the only option he has is to be backed. Because if he gets backed, then he has an option of flying the project instead of walking it. But the moment the project develops slower than some of the players in it, they're gonna go away. They will go. For example, if Martinelli scores 20 Premier League goals, if Son has done it, I think Martinelli can do it as well. So if he scores 20 non-penalty Premier League goals, he will leave. He will leave if Arsenal are not yet at that level, right? Because their clubs at that level and are welcome to take those players in. So, it's all about the project. How fast can this project really develop? If it can develop better, if it can develop well, that's fine. But the moment it can't. The moment the project slows down and Saka outshines the project, because one of the problems we are having at the moment is that Saka is outshining the project. That's it. The project is not as convincing as Saka. Saka is outshining the project. You don't want that. Trust me, you do not want that. And I hope, Arsenal think about it and understand that it's not a situation where we want to be. But anyway, Saka's contract situation, that is where we are. Martinelli has not extended his contract as well. Gabriel Magalhaes has not extended his contract as well. Clubs are chasing over these players. Edu, this is where we need you. If he fucks up, listen lads, if he fucks up, Edu, if he fucks up Saka, Martinelli and Gabriel Magalhaes' contracts, get him out. Get him out. But I know he will do what is needed. These are young players who want to be with the club. It's been reported time in, time out. All players want to stay at the club. They are committed and they love the manager. So if they love the manager, there should not be huge complications. The only player that I think will have complications with is William Saliba. Because with Saliba, he literally owes Arsenal nothing.